everyone, what's up and welcome back to 31 Nights of Horror. I'm really excited today because I'm actually starting a brand new series here, even though it's part of 31 Nights of Horror, because I'm going to be talking about every single movie in A Nightmare on Elm Street, and I'm super excited because I've seen the original A Nightmare on Elm Street that I'm reviewing today multiple times, but I actually haven't seen the entire franchise, and I'm super excited to get into it. Wes Craven is one of my favorite directors of all time, and I'm just excited to see how this franchise evolves. Hopefully it's not as bad as Halloween, because Halloween definitely has a lot of stinkers, and I really hope that A Nightmare on Elm Street actually has some good ones. But before I get into the review, I want to address this. They're doing some construction in my house, so for today my friend let me use her room, and look how cute this background is. It says boo. It doesn't make up for the purple lights, but it's still very cute. In Wes Craven's classic slasher film, several Midwestern teenagers fall prey to Freddy Krueger, a disfigured midnight mangler who preys on the teenagers in their dreams, which in turn kills them in reality. After investigating the phenomenon, Nancy begins to suspect that a dark secret kept by her and her friend's parents may be the key to unraveling the mystery, but can Nancy and her boyfriend Glenn solve the puzzle before it's too late? So my favorite part about this movie is how original it is, because a lot of slasher movies can get really redundant, especially I think after the 80s. There were so many movies in the 80s that kind of just did the same thing over and over again, but this movie takes the slasher genre and completely like takes away everything that makes it realistic and turns it into something paranormal. And I think when you mix like slashers and paranormals together, it creates something really wonderful and something really unique. Now, this might be an unpopular opinion, don't hate me, especially people that grew up with this movie in the 80s, but I don't really think Freddy Krueger is that scary in this movie. I don't know if he gets scarier in like the other movies or anything, but a lot of times I kind of think he's funny in the movie. The way Robert Englund moves and stuff, it's kind of funny, and I'm not trying to like say his performance is bad at all. It definitely worked. A lot of people are really scared of this movie, but I don't think I'm scared of the movie because of that. I think I'm just scared of it because the concept of like, okay, if I go to sleep, somebody's gonna come kill me is really terrifying, because you just really can't escape that. But the killer itself, I don't think is that scary, if that makes sense. But to talk positively about Freddy Krueger, I love his design. Actually, the actor, he was not wearing a mask. They did all the special effects on his skin, which I think is crazy. That took so much work, probably. I assume like hours and hours. David Miller was the makeup artist, and like here's some behind the scenes photos of them working on it. I think it looks so cool, and it just, I love practical effects. This movie has a ton of them. There's also like a really cool scene where like Nancy's talking on the phone and like his tongue comes out. It's like kind of funny, but I just think it's cool, like the practical effects, how the tongue got out of the phone, super awesome. However, there are some effects that like didn't really age that well, especially towards the ending. The final scene, there's a scene with the mom, and like they're kind of taking her, and it literally looks like a doll. I'm gonna slow motion it for you guys. It looks like a literal doll. It does not look real, but I assume at the time it came out, people were like, oh my god, that looks really good. But in today's standards, it doesn't really look that good. And now that I guess just like I mentioned the ending, I do want to say that the ending is something that I don't really like about this movie. I don't know how it sets up the sequel because I haven't seen it yet, but it's just weird. I think it just confuses me a lot because, you know, with this world that Wes Craven created, there's like definitely a lot to be explored. Just the fact that this guy can like appear in dreams and kill in reality is like crazy. And also, I still don't really fully understand how Freddy became to be Freddy, because we learned the whole backstory with the bomb and stuff in the boiler room, which I think the boiler room is a fantastic and really unique setting, but it's not like we know everything, you know, fully, and I just think the ending kind of confused everything a lot more, and just, it's weird. I don't really like the ending. I think it's kind of really cheesy, but then again, it was the 80s, and that was like a big thing in the 80s. But personally, I just wish they would have cut it like way sooner. Also, to speak positively about Wes Craven, I really like a lot of motifs that he uses in this movie. I don't think you notice this the first time you watch it. Like I said, I've rewatched this movie more times than I can count, but there's so many like little moments where like there's a lot of use of red, there's a lot of use of things that just like remind me of Freddy, like stripes. I'm just gonna give props to Wes Craven for that, because it kind of gives you the feeling that even when these people aren't sleeping, Freddy Krueger is around, and I think that idea is really great. I love the ambiance set in this movie. And now let's talk about the characters and the performances, because I have some good and bad things to say about that. There's obviously a group of teenagers in this movie, and for the most part they do look like teenagers. I think they did a good job in that. There are some that like look older than that, but Nancy, for example, I like that she looks like a high schooler. I never really understood why the characters in this movie are unlikable, or maybe I don't know if it's just me, but I think the only likable character in this movie is like Nancy, and that's just, I mean, she's the main character, she's gonna be the final girl. Johnny Depp's character, he's like alright, I guess. Like, he's not a bad character by any means, but he's not very likable. They all do these things that just like make me not want to root for them. And I think if in the writing they would have made all of the characters likable, it would have made the suspense higher, because I would have been like, oh, I want these people to survive, you know? The only one that I really wanted to survive was Nancy, because she was actually the one that like cared about everything, the one that was like strategically coming up with these plans to defeat Freddy. The movie was punishing them for being bad people, but I don't know, I kind of prefer in like slashers when anybody can die. It doesn't just have to be the quote-unquote bad characters or whatever. Nancy as the final girl is one that's super underrated. I think she's one of the few that like genuinely wants to survive. I just rewatched Friday the 13th, the first one, and like, dude, that girl, like, what was she doing the whole time? Like, Nancy legitimately was like, okay, Freddy, I'm going to like beat you up and survive, and like, she did. And the gore in this movie, honestly, I like the level of gore that we get here. Like, that first kill is really brutal, like extremely brutal. I think this is the perfect use of gore. I loved it so much. It just made it so much like scarier, you know? One of my favorite scenes in the entire movie is when Nancy first gets her dream at school, because it kind of starts setting up, you know, what Freddy can do and how far he can get into your dreams. Like, it doesn't just have to be like, okay, you're sleeping at night. It could literally be in the middle of school, you just fall asleep to take a nap and Freddy can come out, and that just makes it even scarier. But yeah, like I said, this is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I just really enjoy everything that it does, and it's definitely perfect for spooky vibes. I just realized I forgot to do my scare meter. I'm doing a scare meter every time I talk about a horror movie this time. I think this movie, I would probably give it like a 5 out of 10 on a scare level. I think it's just right in the middle. It is really gory though, so if you don't like gore, maybe skip out on this one. But like, it's an 80s movie. Not saying that 80s movies aren't scary, but it does have a lot of cheesy elements that like might be a turn off for you or something. But you know, it's an 80s horror movie that I think a lot of people have to check out. It's also a classic, so if you haven't seen it, you need to watch it right now. It is streaming on HBO Max, and I think all of the movies are, so that's awesome. I will be definitely watching those there, and I'm going to give this movie a B. Thank you guys so much for watching today's review. I'm so happy that you guys watched all the way through, and make sure to comment down below what you thought of A Nightmare on Elm Street if you've seen it, and if you haven't seen it, go watch it right now. And make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, because I'm going to be posting every single day in October a new video. And I did want to answer this question because I've gotten a couple DMs about it. So people were asking me if I'm going to be reviewing popular movies coming out this month, because October is kind of really stacked, and I will be reviewing those. I'll just be posting like 2 times a day when that happens. I'm really excited to review No Time to Die, Halloween Kills. I already have tickets for those, so like those reviews are coming ASAP. I promise you guys on that. It'll just be like a double video that day, but I think that's awesome, right? Like, more content for you guys. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are all awesome, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye everyone.